My name's Jack. I'm 48 and live in a small town outside Savannah. I've worked as an HVAC technician for over 20 years. The kind of job where your back always hurts, your fingers are cracked and blackened, and no one remembers your name unless their sea dies in July. I keep tools in my truck, coffee in a thermos, and thoughts to myself. That's how I was raised. Keep your head down, do the work, don't complain. But marriage changes things. Or at least it's supposed to. 5 years ago, I married Jessica. She was beautiful in a way that didn't ask for attention. Wore flannel shirts, chopped her own vegetables. She worked at the local clinic as a nurse and people liked her. They respected her. She spoke softly, but when she did, people listened. I thought maybe if someone like her chose someone like me, I must be doing something right. She had a daughter, Lily, from her first marriage. 15 when I met her. Blonde hair, sharp jawline, always on her phone. In photos, she smiled. In real life, she didn't. There was a stillness about her. Not peace, not calm. Cold. Like a closed window on a warm day. The kind of cold that wasn't waiting to thaw. I didn't try to be her father. That's the truth. I didn't sit her down with advice, didn't push my way in. I figured, give it time. She'll see the effort. She'll understand I'm not trying to replace anyone. I'm just trying to hold things together. Quietly, without needing to be told I belong. Jessica said Lily didn't speak to her father anymore. That it had ended ugly. Restraining orders. Legal words thrown like bricks. But I noticed Lily always kept her phone face down. She'd leave the room to answer certain calls. Late at night, I'd pass her door and see the blue glow of her screen lighting up her face like a ghost. Her mother never questioned it. I did, but I didn't ask. I just watched. The first few months were tight. The house Jessica owned needed work. Bad plumbing, faulty wiring, a rotted subfloor in the laundry room. I didn't complain. I took days off. Fixed it all myself. I paid for the permits, the inspections. I replaced the water heater with one I got wholesale from a job site. I figured, contribute enough and maybe the house will start to feel like a home. Maybe they'll see I'm not just some guy sleeping in the master bedroom. Lily didn't speak much to me, just nods, shrugs. Once, she asked if I could drive her to dance class because her mom was on a late shift. I did. Waited outside in the truck for 2 hours. Didn't even turn the engine on. Just sat there, drank lukewarm coffee, listened to the rain hit the windshield. When she came back out, she didn't say thank you. Just climbed in, earbuds already in. Still, I told myself it was fine. Teenagers are like that. She's adjusting. Maybe she just doesn't know how to say it. Maybe when she graduates, when she sees the life I helped hold up under her feet, she'll come around. Maybe then. I paid for her school fees. Quietly. Her mother never asked me to. I just did it. I paid for her dance competitions, hotels, entrance fees, costumes. Hundreds, then thousands. I kept a spreadsheet, but I never showed it to anyone. What kind of man keeps receipts for love? I told myself love didn't need to be returned. It just needed to be seen. And maybe eventually it would be. I built her a new desk when her old one cracked. Replaced her laptop when it died during finals. I taught her how to pump her own tires, how to test her oil, how to drive on black ice. She rolled her eyes through most of it, but she listened. Or I thought she did. I remember one night she came home late, her eyes puffy, makeup smudged. I was in the kitchen fixing the sink. She didn't see me. I watched her walk straight past her mother, go up the stairs, slam the door. Jessica didn't follow. Just kept stirring something on the stove. I wiped my hands, walked to the base of the stairs, waited. Nothing. No footsteps. No voices. Just silence. Later that night, I knocked on Lily's door. Just one knock. I said, "If you need something, let me know." That was it. She didn't answer. But the next day, the door was open. Small sign of trust. I thought. I took it and stored it somewhere private. We never fought. Not me and her. Because you need a connection to even have conflict. We just existed near each other. Her with her music, her screens, her disappearing ex. Me with my toolbox, my quiet presence, my willingness to do whatever was needed without being asked. Jessica always told me, she's a teenager. She'll grow out of it. And I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Mothers know their children. They see past the surface. They know where the soft spots are. I figured if Jessica believed in Lily's goodness, I should, too. But then came the night that gutted me. It was a Thursday. Late. Jessica was working a double shift. I had spent 2 hours making Lily's favorite pasta, garlic cream with roasted chicken. I had driven across town to get her the specific kind of pasta she liked. Little spiral shells. Took a detour to the bakery for a slice of the lemon tart she once said reminded her of her grandmother's. I set the table. Lit a candle. Not because I expected anything romantic, she was a kid after all, but because I thought maybe it would feel like something. A gesture. A night worth remembering. Even if she didn't say anything, maybe she'd feel it. I walked upstairs with the plate in my hands. Heard her laughing in her room. I stopped before knocking. Just listened. Her voice was bright, happy. A sound I rarely got to hear. I smiled. Then I heard the words. I can't wait to move out of this dump. I'm so done here. Her friend laughed. A voice through a speaker. I swear, Lily continued. As soon as I graduate, I'm gone. I don't care if I have to sleep on Dad's couch. At least he listens to me. This house? It's fake. I hate it. I stood there, still holding the plate. The candle flickered, cast a shadow on the wall. I didn't move. My hand shook. A little cream sauce spilled over the edge onto my fingers. I waited for her to pause, for her to realize I was there, for her to soften, backtrack, laugh and say she didn't mean it. But she didn't stop. She didn't apologize. She didn't care. I turned, walked down the hall, set the plate on the counter, still steaming, the lemon tart next to it. I poured myself a glass of water, drank half, then dumped the rest in the sink. Jessica came home an hour later, asked if Lily had eaten. I said yes. She didn't notice the untouched plate. Or if she did, she didn't say anything. The next morning, Jessica said, she's just venting. It's normal. I looked at her, long and hard. Is it normal to hate the man who pays for everything she touches? Jessica's mouth opened, then closed. She didn't answer. That silence? That was the answer. And I knew then, clear as daylight, that I was alone in that house. A man mistaken for a father, used like a wallet and discarded like trash. The first cracks had already formed. I just hadn't been willing to see them. Until now. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam a door. I didn't even look at Jessica when I walked past her in the kitchen the next morning. I just went into the garage. My sanctuary. My last square of silence. Concrete floor, steel shelves, the smell of oil and sawdust. I closed the door behind me. Not too hard. Not too soft. The air felt cleaner in there. Honest. Unforgiving. The way I liked it. I stood there for a moment, listening. To the sound of Lily's footsteps upstairs. To Jessica's soft voice calling her for breakfast. To the way no one mentioned my name. As if I hadn't stood in the hallway the night before, holding a hot plate for a daughter who didn't even consider me a part of her house. I took a black trash bag from the stack in the corner. Carried it upstairs. Her door was cracked open. Inside, she was on her bed, scrolling. Legs up, headphones on, face lit by her screen. She didn't even glance up. I walked to her closet. Started pulling things out. Shirts, pants, makeup bags. Dance uniforms still covered in glitter. Stuff I paid for. Stuff I fixed when she left it broken. Stuff I drove across state lines to pick up when she forgot it. I stuffed them into the bags. Not folded. Not organized. Thrown in. Like they had been thrown at me, day after day, year after year. She looked up. Took a second to realize what was happening. Pulled one earbud out. What are you doing? I didn't answer. Just moved to the drawers. Grabbed handfuls of socks, underwear, swimsuits. Shoved them in. Seriously, what the hell are you doing? Still nothing. She stood, now angry. Good. Let her feel it. Let her taste the same fury she handed me with silence every day she walked past me without a single word of thanks. Are you seriously packing my stuff? Are you out of your mind? I turned, held her stare, didn't blink. You said you were done here. I'm just helping. She opened her mouth to speak, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out but air and disbelief. When I was done, I took the last bag, pulled her phone charger from the outlet, coiled it, dropped it in on top. Then I walked to her bed, reached under the pillow, slipped the latest utility bill inside: Wi-Fi, electric, gas, highlighted with yellow marker, marked with my name, my account, my money. You burn the power. You eat the food. You bathe in the water. All things I provide. Now that you're gone, so are they. She stared at me like I'd hit her, like I'd become someone she didn't recognize. I didn't care. I carried the bags down, set them by the front door. No fanfare, no speech, no begging for understanding. Just gravity. Jessica came down later, saw the bags. What is this? She said she wants out. I said, I'm making room for that to happen. Jessica's eyes narrowed. Not sad, not shocked, just tired. Like the whole thing inconvenienced her more than anything else. She's still a kid. No, I said. She's not. She's old enough to hate me out loud. That's old enough to pack. She didn't mean it. She meant it enough to say it. To her friend. With no hesitation. In a house I've paid for every month, in a room I helped remodel while using a phone I pay for. If she didn't mean it, she would have said something after. Jessica stood still for a long time, then went back upstairs. No argument, no defense, not even a whisper of regret. That night, Lily left. Some friend picked her up. She didn't say goodbye, didn't even look in my direction. Just opened the door, grabbed the bags, and walked out like it was her decision, like I hadn't done the lifting for her. The house went quiet. Not the kind of quiet that brings peace. The kind that rings in your ears, hollow and painful. Jessica didn't speak to me that night, or the night after, or the one after that. On the fourth night, she said, You went too far. I looked at her, her face half lit by the TV. No, I said. I finally went far enough. Weeks passed. Lily didn't come home. I started adjusting. Cancelled her streaming subscriptions. They were in my name anyway. Turned off her phone line. She had already blocked me, so it didn't matter. Stopped ordering food for 3. The fridge stayed fuller. The house stayed cleaner. Jessica asked, You're just going to pretend she doesn't exist? I shrugged. She already did that to me. I'm just matching the tone. She didn't like that. The real shift came when the bills started to look different. No more late-night Uber Eats. No more TikTok boosts charged to my card. No midnight Amazon packages dumped on the porch like someone else's problem. I started paying only for what I used. I made it a rule. No one said anything when I removed Lily from the car insurance. No one noticed when I deactivated the extra Wi-Fi extender I installed so she could stream in high definition from her bedroom. One evening, Jessica came home and said, She came back to grab the rest of her things. Did she want to see me? She didn't say. Then there's your answer. I stayed in my office, listened as her footsteps moved through the house like a stranger's. She took the dance trophies I'd built shelves for. She took the mirror I hung for her. She took the quilt Jessica's mother had made. She didn't knock on my door, didn't ask for a single thing I had given her. When she left, I heard the door slam harder than it needed to. It made Jessica flinch, but I didn't move. Later that night, Jessica said, You're still responsible for her. I turned to her, really looked at her. She's not a child, and I'm not customer service. Jessica didn't answer, just went to bed early, left her dinner half-eaten. I stayed up, cleaned the kitchen, turned off the lights. It was a new kind of routine. The days bled into each other. We stopped sitting on the same couch. She'd fall asleep with the TV on. I'd finish my reports in the garage, heater on, music low, door cracked open to let the cold seep in. It was better than the warmth that had turned fake. Lily texted me one day from an unknown number. Just a sentence. You ruined everything. No greeting. No explanation. I blocked the number. Jessica saw it. That was her, she said. I know. She's your daughter. No, I said. She's your daughter. I was just the guy who paid for her dance trips. Jessica left the room. I didn't follow. I started sleeping in the guest room. First, it was about space. Then it became permanent. The closet in our bedroom stayed half full. Eventually, I started boxing up my side. Just shirts and jeans and socks. Nothing fancy. Nothing sentimental. That's when it hit me. I didn't exist in that house. Not really. I was the furniture that repaired itself. The wallet that never bounced. The silence that tolerated being spit on. Again and again. Waiting for someone to say, "Thank you." But thank you never came. And the more I waited for it, the smaller I became. I stopped waiting. 6 months passed like molasses down cold glass. The kind of slow you feel in your bones. Nothing explosive, nothing dramatic. Just the gradual draining of warmth. The steady unraveling of a man no one noticed until he stopped moving. Jessica still lived in the house. But the rooms rearranged themselves around silence. There was no confrontation. No argument about Lily. No apology that ever found its way into the air between us. Just avoidance. Her footsteps at night no longer paused at the guest room. My coffee mug stopped showing up in the dishwasher. She folded only her clothes. I folded mine. We became strangers in shared square footage. The photos stayed up for a while. Family vacations. Lily at her first recital. Jessica and me on the front porch the day I finished repainting the shutters. All those years frozen on the wall like they mattered. One Sunday, I took them down. Every single frame. No ceremony. No explanation. I wrapped them in newspaper, boxed them, slid them into the attic. Jessica didn't say a word, just stared at the blank patches left behind, then turned and walked away. That same week, I filed the change of address forms. Had the bank statements redirected to a new P.O. box. Told the post office to hold my packages separately. Bit by bit, I removed myself from the infrastructure of that house. The only thing left behind was my name on the mortgage. By then, Lily had moved in with her father. At least part-time. A man she once said was toxic. A man she once claimed she'd never forgive. But apparently forgiveness was easier when it came with fewer rules and less consequence. I don't know what his place looked like. I didn't ask. All I knew was she'd chosen him. And that was enough. One day, out of nowhere, Jessica handed me an envelope. No note, no eye contact, just an envelope with a printed receipt. Inside was a record of a payment she'd made. Lily's remaining tuition for her last semester. I looked at it, set it on the table, didn't speak. She waited, like I was supposed to clap, like this one gesture reversed years of compliance. As if cleaning up one shattered plate meant the whole kitchen never burned down. I said nothing. She said, "I'm trying." I nodded. So am I. That night, I started looking at apartments. I didn't need much, just a bed, kitchen, somewhere without footsteps behind closed doors, without the quiet judgment of a woman who watched her husband be gutted and then kept stirring the pot like nothing was wrong. I found a place on the other side of town. Small unit, hardwood floors, a single window overlooking the railroad tracks. No neighbors upstairs. No echo of Lily's voice behind thin walls. Just peace. I signed the lease. Didn't tell Jessica until I was moving. She stood at the doorway watching me carry boxes to the truck. Her arms folded, mouth tight. "So that's it." I nodded. "That's it." She swallowed. "You're just leaving?" "No," I said. "I left months ago. This is just me taking my body with me." She didn't stop me, didn't cry, didn't beg. Just turned and went back inside like it was a regular Tuesday. Like the man who rebuilt her house, raised her daughter, paid her bills, and slept beside her for 5 years wasn't worth a final word. I closed the tailgate, drove off without looking in the rearview mirror. The new apartment smelled like new paint and old metal. The kind of smell that doesn't try to hide what it is. I liked that. Honest. Cold but clean. I unpacked in silence. No one asking where the scissors were. No footsteps above me. No muffled crying through the drywall. Just the ticking of the wall clock I hung myself. I bought an espresso machine. One of the nice ones. Programmed it to make a perfect cup every morning at 7 a.m. No one touched it but me. I hung my own pictures. Landscapes. Old factory shots. Black and white. Framed without flair. None of that family warmth clutter. No smiling faces staring down at me like ghosts. I slept better than I had in years. 2 weeks after I moved, Lily messaged me again. New number. Just 2 words. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me expected more. An explanation. A thank you. Something resembling acknowledgement for the years I gave her. But that was it. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Not right away. 2 days later, another message came. I didn't realize you were the only one who actually cared. I thought you'd always be there. Like a fridge, always working, always full. That one hurt more than it should have. Because it was true. That's what I'd been. A fridge. A fixture. Quiet, essential, invisible until broken. I saved the message. Didn't reply for 4 days. Then I typed, carefully, I hope you've grown up. But I'm not going back to a place where I was mocked. She read it within seconds. Didn't reply. I didn't need her to. Jessica tried to reach out once. Sent a long email. No subject line. Just a wall of text that started with, I didn't know how bad it had gotten, and ended with, we could still fix this. I deleted it. Because we couldn't. She let it rot. Sat beside me every night while Lily carved me out of their world like I was drywall. And said nothing. She picked silence. Over and over. You don't fix that. You bury it. Life in the apartment was simple. Groceries for one. Music on low volume. No one asking why I worked late. No one waiting for me to soften, to cave, to come crawling back with apologies I didn't know. Lily stopped by once. I don't know how she found the address. Maybe Jessica gave it to her. Maybe she remembered the name on the truck parked out front. She brought coffee. The good kind. Still hot. Still sealed. I let her in. She sat. Looked around. Noticed the lack of pictures. Said nothing. Neither of us talked about the past. We just sat. Sipped coffee. And for once, it didn't feel like a performance. There was no script to follow. No pretend father-daughter closeness. No judgment or bitterness. Just 2 people who had stopped pretending. That silence held more warmth than 5 years of birthdays and forced family dinners. She came by again a week later. Brought muffins. Still didn't talk much. I didn't ask questions. Didn't dig into her life. Didn't ask about her dad, or school, or Jessica. If she wanted to talk, she could. She never did. And I respected that. Because for the first time, it felt like we were meeting as equals. Not parent and child. Not obligation and burden. Just human beings, finally stripped of the lies we lived under. She always left before noon. I never asked her to stay longer. It was enough. In that tiny apartment, I started to exist again. I wasn't waiting to be seen. I wasn't hoping for gratitude. I wasn't bleeding myself dry for people who saw my presence as disposable. I was just living. And sometimes, in that quiet, I'd wonder, was it my fault for staying too long in a house that didn't want me? Was I weak for giving so much? Or strong for finally walking away? Either way, the bill came due. And this time, I stopped paying it. Some things don't break with noise. They just stop working. A rusted hinge. Power line sagging until it snaps. A man, sitting at a table, realizing he's not angry anymore, just done. That's how it ended. Not with fists on tables or screaming matches. Not with tears. With silence. The kind that fills a house when its last illusion has been swept clean. I didn't become bitter. I didn't stalk their lives from the shadows. I didn't write long messages demanding explanations or recognition. I moved on the way wind moves through a field, leaving everything standing but colder. Jessica called once, 3 months after I left. I let it ring. Then again 2 weeks later. This time a voicemail. I miss you, she said. I didn't see it until you were gone. I didn't call back. Because the truth is, she saw it. She just didn't care. Not enough to stop it. Not enough to speak when her daughter weaponized her silence. The silence between them was a choice. Mine had become a boundary. I heard Lily was back in school. Some online classes, part-time work. Her dad couldn't keep her full-time, of course not. The man had been a shadow with a name she used like a shield against me. But shields don't feed you. Shields don't pay rent. I paid the price for another man's absence. She paid the price for taking me for granted. Jessica sold the house eventually. I heard from a mutual friend. She moved into a condo closer to her job. No porch, no shutters, no photos on the walls. Felt fitting. I still see Lily sometimes. Not regularly. Every few months. She texts, asks if I'm home, brings coffee, stays for 20, maybe 30 minutes. Never asks for money. Never leans in for affection. Just sits. Quiet. Not ashamed, exactly. Not regretful in the way movies would paint it. Just older. Worn. Like the years finally taught her what people tried to hand her freely and what she spat out. I don't press. I don't punish. That part of me, the part that hoped for fatherhood, is gone. What remains is quieter. Sharper. Not hate. Just memory. Once, during one of her visits, she looked around my apartment and said, "You seem lighter." I nodded. That's what happens when you stop carrying people who wouldn't even hold the door. She didn't argue. Just nodded. Took another sip. Let the silence settle between us like dust that doesn't need sweeping. Sometimes I think about what I could have done differently. Maybe I should have pushed back earlier. Demanded respect instead of hoping it would bloom. Maybe I should have called out Jessica when she let Lily's behavior slide. Maybe I should have walked away the first time I felt invisible in my own home. But then again, maybe the lesson wasn't about when I left. Maybe it was about learning I could. Because that's what no one tells you about step-parenthood. You're a guest until you're a ghost. You buy groceries for people who never say thank you. You fix toilets no one else notices until they stop flushing. You attend graduations where they don't include your name. You sacrifice so they can breathe easier, and when they turn their backs, it's your breath that catches. And all the while you're supposed to smile, to understand, to wait, because you're not the real parent. You're just the man who stayed, until you don't. I remember Lily's last birthday in the house. I spent the entire weekend building her a vanity. Hand-sanded the drawers, stained the wood to match her bed, installed a mirror with custom lighting, wrapped it in a bow. She barely looked at it. Took a selfie, posted it online with no mention of where it came from. Jessica said, "She's not great at expressing appreciation." I said nothing. I should have said everything. Because what she called a lack of expression was a lack of respect. And what she called adolescence was a pattern she let grow unchecked. And what I called patience, what I wore like a badge, was a mask for cowardice. You can love someone fiercely and still lose yourself trying to earn what should have been given. Now, when Lily visits, we don't pretend. She doesn't call me dad. She doesn't ask about the past. She just exists in the room for a while. And sometimes, I catch her staring at the tools on my workbench, at the patched jeans folded near the heater, at the framed black and white photos on the wall. She sees the man now, not the placeholder, not the backup singer in her childhood. The man. And maybe that's enough. Jessica never came by. Not once. I suppose she knew better. Some bridges aren't just burned. They're buried. Under layers of indifference. Of silence. Of choosing to watch someone drown because the water didn't touch your ankles. We could have had something real. A unit. A team. But it takes two to protect a house from rot. And Jessica had a talent for looking the other way when the foundation cracked. She told herself it was love. But love that asks one person to swallow their pride over and over until they're hollow. That's not love. That's convenience. I was convenient. Until I wasn't. Some nights, I sit by the window, coffee in hand, watching the freight trains pass in the dark. Loud, slow beasts cutting across the quiet. And I think about how many miles they travel carrying other people's weight. Used to feel familiar. Not anymore. These days I carry only what I choose. No one's daughter. No one's wife. No one's approval. Just my tools, my thoughts, my peace. The scars are still there, emotional debts with no receipts. But I don't regret the years. I regret the silence. The way I let myself be erased day after day because I didn't want to be the man who gave up. Turns out it wasn't giving up. It was waking up. And now I ask you, whoever's listening, was I wrong to walk away from a family that never saw me? Was I cruel to shut the door when they only knocked out of necessity? Or did I finally do the one thing a man is allowed to do when the house he built turns its back? Save himself. So I leave you with this. Would you have endured it? Or would you have packed the truck, turned the key, and driven toward the only thing they couldn't take from you? Your dignity. You tell me.